Yeah, buddy, we are back. We are the Financial Rock over here. Mason Street Retirement Insights Podcast. That's what you're listening to. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull, with Sean Mason, the namesake of the joint, the retirement strategist and founder of Mason Street Wealth Management. And we'd love for you to get in touch with Sean and the team at masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. The brand new website, brand new launch over here. Looks nice and sleek. It's worth looking at. And give them a call, too, 559-892-0002. Out of Fresno, and Sean, things starting to, I hope anyway, warm up in Northern California now. How are you doing?
Hey, we're heading in that direction, but we're still skiing. In fact, we're going to head up the mountain to China Peak this coming weekend. You know, we're going to go on Saturday, but the unique thing about being where I live is on Saturday I might be snowboarding, on Sunday I might be surfing. And so I might get that opportunity this weekend.
As long as you don't get the boards mixed up, I'm all for it, okay? I don't want you going down the mountain with the big fin on the deal digging into the snow. That will not end well. I've never surfed. I have snowboarded. My biggest obstacle for snowboarding is getting off of the lift.
and for so many people, it's part of it. And, you know, that's good people watching, though, because that's hilarious when it's rough. And you know what? There's a learning curve for everyone. So you just got to go through it and laugh at yourself when it happens.
Yeah, I never got past the learning curve. That's the problem. And I went snowboarding for several years through high school, middle school, and it always that one foot unbuckled on the lift. That was never fun. But look, we're going to try to take you through the learning curve of some different pillars of retirement. If you've seen past episodes of the Mason Street Retirement Insights podcast, we've got them on Apple, Spotify, and some other podcatchers, and under the media tab at masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. The last episode, a great entree into this one. Today we're going to do Roth conversion, Sean. And last episode we talked about qualified and non-qualified money. There's even some nuance in how we define things as qualified and not qualified. But one big Easter egg out of that conversation, this Easter season, by the way, is the Roth IRA and Roth conversions. And so I guess we didn't launch into it, Sean, with just a basic, short, easy, applicable definition of the Roth IRA.
Roth IRA is it can be a very powerful tax mitigation strategy if it's implemented correctly. The thing about the Roth is that the contributions go in tax after tax, and you're doing that for the benefit of getting tax-free growth on the long term.
Yeah, well, that's a big deal. And then there are limits to a basic Roth IRA that you can contribute each year, and then also an income limit, right? You can't, I don't think a millionaire could contribute to Roth IRA, if I'm mistaken anyway, like if you make a certain amount of money per year, right?
Yeah, you talked about two things. One is the contribution and then what the requirements are. And, we went through last segment talking about contributions to a Roth IRA, Roth 401k, and there are a lot of rules to that. But when you turn it over to Roth conversions, it's still like the wild, wild west out there. There's very few rules and regulations. One, though, I will point out is you got to be very careful, because any money that you convert to a Roth IRA, you have to keep those dollars in there for at least 5 years. So you got to make sure and be clear about that. But a Roth conversion is really simple. All we're doing is we're moving money from a already contributed IRA, 401k, 403b. We're moving money from those accounts that you've contributed pre-tax, and we're moving it over to a Roth. We're converting those already contributions to a Roth. Very powerful strategy. The most important thing we have to remember is that when we are converting money into a Roth, we're paying taxes on it because we're converting it from a pre-tax account. We contributed money into a pre-tax account that we never paid taxes on. The money goes into a Roth account after tax, so along the way, we're going to pay those taxes. So in essence, we're giving up money early in the form of taxation that we'll never get a rate of return for the benefit of long-term tax-free withdrawals, long-term tax-free growth.
And that's a big deal. Now, I was not familiar until talking with people like you about a Roth conversion. So if you have a Roth IRA, there's only a certain amount of money you can make per year to even have one. There's only a certain amount of money you could contribute per year. But a Roth conversion, you could have, say, like an example, I personally have an old 401k from a previous job. it might be smart for me to think about Roth converting it. But I remember saying to an advisor once, Sean, I said, hey, man, I got this big 401k. I could just dump it right over right now. And they said, pump the brakes. And you just said the reason why, because of tax implications. So how does someone systematically convert their Roth to make it so you're not bumping up tax brackets and all that?
Yeah, and that's the question of the day, right? What's the strategy? Because, you hear me say all the time, one piece of the puzzle is always affecting another piece of the puzzle. And with this one, it couldn't be truer. A lot of times people will think, what if my income is lower in this year? I might think about converting. We might think about, if my taxable income is $78,000 and I'm in the 12% tax bracket, my tax bracket is $98,000. I have another $20,000 that I could contribute and still stay in the 12% tax bracket. I was meeting with a couple yesterday that we are doing some planning for, and Steve's taxable income is $250,000. And he's retiring in 2 years. And listen, not always does common sense play out, because it seems that why wouldn't we just wait for 2 years to convert when the income is lower? But we figured out through planning that it was better for us to start converting this year and next year. And so you've really got to do those calculations. And to figure out how many years to spread that out, if we figure out, look, we're gonna go ahead and convert $500,000, most of us, or usually, it's not going to be the best strategy to convert $500,000 in 1 year because of the tax brackets that we're going to reach. So to figure out how many years to spread that out is going to be really important. But I'll tell you, something that everybody that is managing their own portfolios, certainly financial advisors need to be taking this in consideration. When the market gives us a gift and one of your holdings in your account devalues, maybe drops by 20%, happens all the time to even quality companies, quality stocks, you want to be ready and you want to say, I'm going to go ahead and convert that stock over to a Roth because you're getting a discount on the taxes. And then you can assume that that holding is going to recover in value, and it actually happens to be in that Roth account, so it recovers in value tax-free.
Wow, now that is not a strategy I'd heard before, is thinking about what assets you have, how and when they decrease, and maybe going ahead and converting it to a Roth so you pay lower taxes as opposed to higher taxes later on. Now, besides converting a 401k, or you said maybe converting a stock, is there something else you could convert into a Roth? Is there raw income that you could convert into a Roth? I mean, I would think that's a Roth IRA. So I don't know. What are the different things that you can not wash, but you know what I mean, convert it to a Roth?
Yeah, we are specifically talking about dollars that have already been contributed into a pre-tax account. And any of those dollars you can convert into a Roth account. It's just about the strategy that you're going to utilize to ensure that you're creating a benefit, not a detriment.
Gotcha. Well, it certainly seems like it's very beneficial and a great way to get around the limitations of what traditional IRAs are. Even the limitations of a Roth IRA is trying to figure out what types of accounts could maybe flip over and then strategically doing so. It's all strategic here, Sean. I don't know if you like board games or not. It seems like you'd be pretty good at it considering how each puzzle piece touches one another. So if someone wants to start this conversation with you and just figure out, gosh, I've got this pile of money over here. It's just been sitting and I'm not even with this employer anymore. I'm just accruing 401k fees. How do they start that conversation with you to begin planning that strategy?
Yeah, that's a good question. And people call a lot. People come into the office all the time, specifically looking to figure out Roth conversion strategies. Give us a call and set up a time to come in. This is not something that you want to monkey around with. This could either be a huge benefit or a huge detriment. So come in and we'll look at your individual situation. We'll have a discussion on what strategy is, what the benefits are, what the pros and cons are, and we'll get to figure out whether we should even be entertaining the idea within your scenario and financial plan of Roth conversion strategies.
No, for sure. And the number to call is 559-892-0002. Or by going to masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. And I'll say that number one more time, 559-892-0002. and get in touch with Sean and the team. Set up that first appointment, complimentary, no obligation, and just figure out if Mason Street Wealth Management is the right fit for you and walking through this, Sean. I know that's so important, and I hear that you take skiers and snowboarders, all right? You don't prefer one or the other, so I think that's important for people to know.
Even
surf and turf.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. For surf and turf, indeed. So, again, call that number, 559-892-0002. And before we get going, Sean, I wanted to remind people of your retirement planning seminars that you're having at Fresno State University. Can you run through that real fast here before we wrap up?
Yeah, they're a really neat class. We're really fortunate to have the opportunity to teach those at Fresno State. And it's really a great overview of retirement planning and what you need to be thinking about. People come in here and, they're concerned about typically what they do not know. And to have an opportunity to get introduced to all the different elements and concepts that we should at least be thinking about is a real value. So get with Vicki or any of the staff here at Mason Street Wealth Management. We'll be able to set you up with how to register into one of those classes.
For sure, yeah. So call 559-892-0002 or go to MasonStreetWealthManagement.com. The Contact Us button is at the top right-hand corner, and then you can start the conversation there. Just figure out, hey, is that class right for me? And you want to go, and hey, you're actually going to college, so you're going to class, not just a seminar, all right? I love that. Well, Sean, thank you so much for enlightening us on the Roth conversion there, and that's just another reminder to me that I need to update my financial to-do list. So thanks for that. Sean, appreciate you. Now, Sean Mason, of course, is a retirement strategist and founder of Mason Street Wealth Management. Get in touch with them, MasonStreetWealthManagement.com. So thanks to Sean. Thanks to Daniel Salerson, our producer, for navigating the choppy internet waters here and getting this published and put out to show. And thank you all for listening to the Mason Street Retirement Insights podcast. Remember, all past episodes can be found under the media tab, MasonStreetWealthManagement.com, or on Apple, Spotify, and some of the other podcatchers. Send that link to someone you know that you think needs to hear about it. Don't just keep it to yourself. Be sure to like and subscribe. These episodes come out about every 2 weeks. Sean Mason is a retirement strategist and founder of Mason Street Wealth Management. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. We hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Mason Street Wealth Management, MSWM, is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by MSWM on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of Motivate Investments. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. Investment advisory services are offered through Motivate Investments, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. The information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Sean A. Mason, California, insurance license number 0B54860. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Motivate Investments. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. MSWM is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if MSWM is licensed in your state, please call 559-892-0002.